Hey everyone, it's Matt here, the TokuDragon. And today I am not wearing my leather jacket. And the reason why is because it is very hot in New York. And I mean very unseasonably warm. So not going to be in that while also having multiple lights on me and whatnot. So no, not doing that. But that's also not why you're here. You're here because of the fact that we're going to be talking about news about Ultraman Z getting an English dub. We're going to talk about where it's airing, when it's airing, and also some updates as well, and why I didn't choose to talk about it sooner. So let's actually get to all that right now. So I didn't talk about this sooner for two different reasons. The first being that I am super swamped with in real life stuff. Now thankfully, don't worry, it's nothing awful, nothing horrific. It's just a bunch of in real life stuff that, comes up every now and again. You know how it is. And so because of the fact that we have, not just this channel but multiple channels, it does affect the workflow. So it was very difficult to actually get out some breaking news. Also, the video yesterday about Shin Kamen Rider, but also because I was kind of waiting for a little bit of an update because I saw when the show was going to be airing on Tsuburaya's YouTube channel, but I didn't see what the schedule would be like after the fact. So really happy to say that we didn't just have the first two episodes air on the channel on April 8th and April 9th. By the way, check your calendars. It's past the 8th and the 9th. But we also are getting every week we are getting two episodes. So this past weekend we had episodes 3 and 4 air, which is super cool because this is actually a relatively short series. Not so much for Ultraman because the series lengths do vary, especially once we get out of the Showa era. But when you actually look at the fact that this is a 25 episode series, that means in just like 12 weeks we're going to be getting, or 12 weeks or so, we're going to be getting the entire series dubbed in English, which by the way I think is fantastic. Super happy about the fact that it's getting dubbed because of the fact that dubs equal accessibility. Especially when a franchise like this is aimed at children, young children especially, it makes so much sense to have an English dubbed version. And I'll talk about the cast in just a bit. I'll talk about who dubbed this in just a bit. But what's really cool is, from what we know so far, this does not seem to be a licensing situation where when it comes to licenses you end up wondering, oh, who owns the license to the dub? Could this end up being put on disc in the future if for some reason there is an Ultraman Z release? Will this end up, just kind of being a lost dub or something like that? Well, in this case, it does not seem to be the case because it seems like Tsuburaya actually commissioned the dub themselves. This is not, being licensed by, let's say, Crunchyroll or Sentai Filmworks or Discotek or what have you. No, this seems to be coming directly from Tsuburaya themselves. A company did work on the dub, of course, but still it seems as if they were commissioned by Tsuburaya themselves from what we know so far. And that company, by the way, is Okratron 5000. If you don't know who they are, the company is actually run by Chris Sabat. You've probably seen him, or heard him rather, in something, and that same company actually did the dub for Shin Ultraman. I did a review, by the way, of Shin Ultraman. We'll be posting that down in the description box down below, but I have to tell you though, just a little spoiler here for the dub section, the dub is fantastic. So hearing that they're actually the ones that are working on this makes me super excited and super hyped because that dub was so good. And there actually is some cast crossover as well that I am super excited to check this dub out. If I do review it for the channel, I will be doing the whole series just because it's a lot easier to keep up with rather than just episode by episode. Also, again, we don't know if it's going to be kept on Tsuburaya's channel, and if so, for how long. But again, still happy that it's coming through them directly because we at least know that it won't end up being in some kind of weird licensing hell or something like that. I mentioned earlier, the potential of an Ultraman Z Blu-ray or disc or something like that. That's not in the cards at all, not confirmed, just saying that in the future, we don't have to think about the fact that oh no, because this is getting dubbed, will the cost of the disc go up or something like that? No, because it's coming directly through Tsuburaya, it does seem like it would be the same way, let's say Tsuburaya has their own official subtitles or whatnot, right? That doesn't cost this, doesn't cause these series licensing costs or whatnot to go up, so I assume the same would be in this case when it comes to the dub. Also, there is a trailer for the dub that I will be reacting to a little bit later on this week, and I haven't seen the full episodes just yet dubbed. However, I have seen the trailer, and I actually am pretty hyped for it, so can't wait to check that out. And when it comes to the cast list, which we're going to take a look at right now, I will note on screen if anyone has been in Shin Ultraman as well. So we have Matt Shipman as Ultraman Z, we have Zeno Robinson as Haruki. By the way, Zeno Robinson was actually also in Dragon Ball Super, and he played a character that is very much an homage both to Kamen Rider and Ultraman, which was fantastic to see. By the way, he was also great in Dragon Ball Super Superhero specifically. So I thought he was really good in that, so I'm so happy to hear him here. Also, Mick Lahr is Juggler, Mallory Rodak is Yoko, and Macy Ann Johnson is Yuka. And also, Chris Sabat will be the series executive producer and will also serve as narrator. I'm getting this, by the way, from Toku Nation, and I will put that in the description box down below as well. And also, as I'm talking right now, you're going to see some more, members of the cast on screen that I didn't mention. And again, if they've been in anything Ultraman related before, and I will be also showing their tweets and whatnot, because some of them are actually Ultraman fans, are big fans of Ultraman. So that's actually really cool to see that they not just, in some cases, are also reprising, not reprising a role, but are doing another role in the Ultraman universe, just like they did with Shin, but also having the chance to, just kind of live out a dream. It's really cool to see. And so I'll be posting some of their tweets down below. And what I do want to say as well is a surprising cast, like a character that I did not think would fit at all. Really, if you told me he would play this character, I would think, oh, I mean, he's a great voice actor, but really, this character? We actually have Sean Schemmel, the voice of Goku, to be Ultraman Zero. That is a fantastic choice when you think about how Zero has become the protagonist of Ultraman throughout the years now. It is, quite frankly, hilarious to actually have Sean Schemmel be Ultraman Zero of all people. We don't know if, sadly, we don't know if this cast and crew is ever going to end up being these characters again. We don't know if Okatron is going to be dubbing stuff for Subudaya again. I really hope that they do. I really hope that this cast does transfer over. There have been other Ultraman English dubs, of course, throughout the years, so yes, cast is going to change and whatnot, but looking at some of these casting choices, these are absolutely perfect, and I really do hope that they retain them as more dubs come out. Hopefully, if there's ever another Ultraman dub again, I really hope that there is. And again, because of accessibility purposes, and when it comes to just trying to not just retain the cast, but also when it comes to Ultraman and how big some of the crossovers can be, even like in smaller shows like this one, it would be nice to see, again, some of that cast be retained. And if you have never seen Ultraman Z before, I will say that as someone who has seen a decent chunk of Ultraman, you really don't have to know too much. Yes, you will have characters kind of just introduced to you, kind of just shown to you, and if that is jarring to you, then I fully understand why you'd want to skip Ultraman Z. But as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen so far, you're really focusing on the actual characters from the show itself. The show is rather self-contained compared to some other Ultraman shows, and even when you look at like newer Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, especially ones that air on anniversary years, and sometimes you'll have random like episodes where you have, at least for Sentai, where you'll have like guest stars come back and whatnot, guest spots where you end up having older Super Sentai members. That's kind of what they've been doing with Ultraman for a while. Not, again, you don't need to know like the huge amount of lore, jumping into Ultraman. Sometimes you can just kind of watch a show and maybe you see someone that you don't know, and maybe someone says, oh, who are you? And it's just like, you don't need to worry about that right now. And then you realize, oh, no, that's Ultraman so-and-so. That will happen, sure, but it is definitely not like an MCU situation, and I enjoy the MCU, but an MCU situation where you really have to watch a ton of films to actually get the context of what's going on. Really, they understand that, Ultraman is a series, a franchise from the 60s, so they fully understand that, look, you're not going to be watching every single one. If we want to tease something just to kind of get you to, get the older fans who know to go, and then other people who don't to go, I don't know who this is, until the big reveal. It is very much like, funnily enough, it's kind of like the Super Sentai, the first ever crossover that they, well, not the first ever, but the first ever huge one that they did in Gawa Ranger versus Super Sentai. Again, not the first, but one of the biggest that they did was the first biggest, because there's been a lot of big ones since, was Gawa Ranger versus Super Sentai. It can be a bit like that sometimes, where, they are telling you who these characters are. There's cute little fun things like that, for fans who've been around for a long time, but it isn't necessarily alienating for those who are jumping into the first time. So if you've never checked out Ultraman Z, just a little brief, and you want to show it to a friend, let's say, now the fact that there's an English dub, I would highly suggest actually doing so, checking it out yourself, and also showing it to others as well. So, thank you all so much, love you all, take care, and I hope you tune in next time. So, I'll see ya!